Paul and I had a discussion. This was a week ago. And Paul, I have to, where I want to go with this is about the not putting a monetary value on your family time. I emailed you, right? I emailed you a couple days ago and told you like what we're going to be doing as a family. And what you shared with me last week was so pivotal that we actually talked about it with our entire family. So I'm so glad that that podcast didn't work. Yeah, it was amazing. And so I would love for you to share with the audience one of your bonus mistakes, and that is putting a monetary value on your family time and the difference between quality time and quantity time. Yeah, just talk about it, please.
This is Secrets for Success.
As we get started with another episode of Secrets for Success, I'd like to take a moment to highlight our sponsor, Jane. Jane is a complete practice management software that makes it easy to book, chart, bill, and get paid all online. The team at Jane knows that getting paid is one of, if not the most important parts of running your practice. And with that in mind, they've created a fully integrated PCI compliant payment solution called Jane Payments. And that makes for a convenient online payment experience for you and your patients. Now with Jane Payments, you can collect credit card info through your online booking or intake forms, send one-click payment requests via email or SMS for outstanding balances, and you'll never need to leave Jane to reconcile your payments. So if you're curious to learn more, head to janeapp.payments. You can also use the code SSHC1MO at the time of sign up for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account, a small gift from Jane to you. Now on to the show. All right, let's get to number 4. So number 4 is a big critical mistake that you say is ineffective, non-existent, on unsupervised internal systems. And that's in systems within your practice. So can you kind of dive into that a little bit?
Well, that's probably what started me with the Michael Gerber thing. I realized, and Gerber has some really nice sayings. The whole E-Myth principle is the fact that you want to try and run your business without you, because you have this entrepreneurial seizure that says you want to be a practice owner, but then you start doing everything in the business as well as seeing the patients and running it. That's the principle of Gerber. But Gerber's expression is, if you want to have a business that works without you, that you don't have to be at all the time, one of the key things you have to do is leverage, I'm not saying untalented people, but leverage ordinary people with excellent systems. The better your, so I became a system creator in my practice. What I did when I started pulling back from it, what are the things that I do really well? How do I do that rebooking? What words do I use? How do I do that conversion? How do I sell that product? And I became my own franchise prototype for the next therapist, the next therapist, the next clinic, the next clinic. And so in that is systems. You mentioned at the start of the presentation the one sheet of paper. One of the most important sheets of paper that I ever put into my practices, and all of our clients use it, and I hope you do it as well, is a simple action plan, Greg. It's a written report, what you found, what they've got, big question, why is it important to fix this problem now? We talk about significant emotional event. Why is it important to fix it now? What you're going to do, and then the recommendation. For you to get back to that, to do that marathon in 4 weeks' time, which I know is important for you, you need to see me twice a week for the next 4 weeks. Let's get started. That's the plan. So you've got and Greg, it's a structured conversation. You're probably the same. You have practitioners in your business, and the listeners and viewers, they have someone comes into their practice, and if they see Mary, they're going to be twice a week for 4 weeks. If they see John, it's once a week for 4 weeks. If they see someone else, it's give me a call in a month and let me know how you're going. That's rubbish. That's just poor care. Right. So you've got to structure those conversations. So the action plan, what it let us do, and I stumbled across this, if at the bottom of the plan it says twice a week for 4 weeks, I've got a number. I've now got the number 8. 8 recommendations. So then we create what we call a new patient register, Greg. On this new patient register, patient's name, how many consults are recommended. So they've got an 8. And I can then look through this sheet and I can see, well, Mary recommended 8, Brian 4, John 1. How come you recommended 1? What's the deal with that? Can you see what it's doing, mate? It's giving me the chance as an owner to look at something in real time and see what's happening in John's room, what's happening in Mary's room. Why is that? And it just stops the problem where you get a new therapist on, you give them lots of new patients and the book's empty, which just makes no sense. So you're just trying to systemize your business. And that's one system, the action plan and the rebooking. And then I also want to know, if I recommend 8, did they book all 8? If I look at this register and it says 8-1, 8-1, 8-1, hang on. The therapist recommending 8, there's only 2 options here. The patient doesn't buy in, the patient doesn't trust the therapist, which is one option, or the admin hasn't done their job. The admin has let the person down. The admin has said, Greg wants to see you 8 times. Let's make 1 now and we'll make the rest next time. They're too busy. Whatever is going on. So it could be an admin or a therapist problem. Either way, I've got a problem. And without this new patient register, without this action plan, I don't know what's going on. So that's one example of a system. I'll give you one more you should do. Simple, let's say on this new patient register, another simple system. I like to think every good practice will ring every new patient within 24 hours of their initial consultation just to make sure they're okay. It's a customer care call. It's Paul here from XYZ. Just want to, Greg, you don't have to even, admin can do it. Greg asked me to give you a call after yesterday's treatment just to make sure you're okay and any questions. Now, why wouldn't you do that? That's just great service. It's
Great
just
service.
And my classic was the acupuncturist used to work for me for a while. Note I said a while, not that long. I put this system in and I said, the other thing, can I get to in a second, is it's non-negotiable. It happens to every new patient. So the other key thing here is remove discretion at the operating level of your business. If I put this step in, everyone gets an action plan, everyone gets a phone call, not negotiable. So that's just going to happen. So this phone call, I said to him, mate, after your people, I want you to ring them within 24 hours and make sure they're okay. Well, Paul, he said, I'm the last person they'd want to hear from after that initial assessment and needling. They'll be in all sorts of pain. They wouldn't want to speak to me. And I nearly hit the floor. Mate, they are exactly the people you need to be ringing. Obviously it didn't work out. He just wouldn't follow the system. But that's the big issue, is putting a system in and then having the courage, conviction and strength as a leader to make sure it's not negotiable. If I put a step in it, because removing discretion, I want to make sure if I've got this system in, and you look at the systems in your business, are they being followed? We interview people all the time for our Practiceology program. So have you got any systems? You're doing an action plan. Are you doing a follow-up phone call? Yeah, we did one of your courses a while ago, and most people are doing it, I think. No, it's either happening or it's not. So I said to my guys, and this is my favourite of it, guys, this is not negotiable. And I sat them all around when I launched this action plan thing. I said, can you all give me an example of a time when you don't do one? When is the time when you don't do an action plan? And they all ummed and ahed and they looked about and they said, the patient has to go to the surgeon. No, that's still a plan. Plan is to go to the surgeon, then you'll see them afterwards or whatever. Oh, okay. They're going overseas. Well, when you get overseas, you need to find a therapist who's going to do once a week for 4 weeks. And so they still get a plan. So they had nothing. I said, there's only one time I'll cop it. Only one time. And they leaned forward. The patient dies during the consultation. That's the only time I'll wear it.
Right.
The patient dies during the consultation. Now, it got a laugh, but it also hit home. And then from that moment, on the new patient register, if there ever was a patient that had a no next to their action plan, yes or no, I'd go up to the therapist. Hey, Brendan, sad news about Mrs. Jones yesterday. What do you mean? What happened to Mrs. Jones? Well, she obviously died during the consultation because she didn't get an action plan. That must have happened. Now, it got a laugh the first time. If it happened again, it was a more serious conversation. If it happened again, Brian's not working for me anymore. I can't tolerate it. I can't have a business that relies on systems if people don't follow it. What's happening like that in your business? So internal systems and measured and enforced internal systems.
Yeah, guys, man, that's so important. I think one of the big things I've taken away from what you've just said there is the systems are only as good as your ability to enforce them. And if you're not enforcing them, then it doesn't matter what systems you have.
And you've got to measure it. How do you measure it? How do you monitor whether it's being done or not? If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So you've got to have some sort of tracking. And most health businesses, Greg, don't need many good systems. You put 4 or 5 of these key things in for all new patients, you'll do okay. You don't need. That being said, I've got a client in Practiceology that's been with us a decade. she's got 34 steps on her new patient register. Now, experienced campaigner, but you can start with one or two. An action plan done well for every new patient, we've seen in our clients, puts 30% on your.
Right. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, let's talk about this critical mistake. We're going to hit the accountants right now. And that is using accountants to tell you the business P&L. You don't agree with that. So go ahead and explain.
Well, firstly, I love accountants. I've got a great accountant. You've got to have a great accountant. But their job, Greg, is not to give you your down and dirty profit and loss every month. Their job is to reduce your tax and keep you out of jail. That's their job. So when you look at your accountant's P&L, they've got your car in it. They've got that conference you went to in Botswana that really had nothing to do with therapy, but whatever. So you've got these things in there. You've got the cleaner that comes to your house as well as the practice. These things are in there. So you want to make sure that's not that. And they're trying to reduce your tax and reduce your taxable income. What we want to see is a real picture of the revenue you generated calendar month and the expenses that you paid for the calendar month to run that business. That's the down and dirty P&L. So it's not your tax version. It's almost another set of books that aren't wrong, but they're just taking out the things that aren't real. The other thing you've got to put in there in this down and dirty P&L is some measurement of your personal consulting work. We talk about in Practiceology the owner consulting wage. So what I suggest our guys do, look through your diary for the calendar month, whatever month you're in, or it's just finished. How many physical hours were you treating patients that month? So it's 100, heaven forbid. Multiply that by your replacement cost. So what's it going to cost you in dollars to get someone else to do that work for you? It might be $50, whatever it is. What's the dollar figure? Multiply those two numbers together, $5,000, and you've got an owner consulting wage. So that, which is a reflection, Greg, of your consulting work, and that goes into this down and dirty P&L. Now, why I did that? Now, remember, your accountant's not doing it that way. Your accountant has advised you to take a dividend or a wage out of the business. That is a taxation decision. Draw this because it'll put you in this tax bracket, it'll save you tax. It's a tax decision. It has no reflection on your physical consulting work in most cases. So why I did this, Greg, and I didn't know it at the time, I needed to show owners when they came into our programs that we could drop their consulting hours. We could drop them from 40 a week to 30 a week to 20 a week and increase or maintain their profit. But I couldn't do that if their wage was drawn from the accountant's version, the tax version. I need to show them that's dropping, so their owner consultant, their hours are dropping, but their profit is increasing because they're doing better marketing, systems, recruitment, training, the things that we think they should be doing. That was one of the reasons your accountant's P&L doesn't fit.
Right. I love that. I love taking your owner consulting wage, which for us, that's our treatment time. This is how much it would cost to replace. If we bring that down, okay, it looks like we're making less, but now we've had extra time to be able to work on our business and watch our profits rise, and you'll see that differentiation increase and increase and increase. That's brilliant. I love it. I love it.
And a lot of our guys, Greg, it was the only way we could get them to drop their consulting hours because it's the dentist philosophy. If you're not drilling, you're not billing. But there comes a time in most practices where seeing patients isn't the best use of your time. You're better off recruiting, marketing. The other thing, it's not all about money. If I can take every Friday off, as I've done my whole life, well, my 33 years with Helen, and had date day every Friday, it's a cost I'm willing to bear. I want to do that. I'd rather be with Helen for the day. So you get to balance out really your down and dirty profit and loss. And what's the impact of dropping 10, 20 hours, dropping a day, dropping 2 days, or never seeing patients again? What's the impact of that? You've got to have a down and dirty P&L to do that.
I love that. I love that. Such a great tip. Okay, let's talk about one of your other big critical mistakes, and that is ineffective and just not having very good recruitment and retention systems. This is a huge deal for practice owners here in the States. So tell us the mistakes that people are making.
There's a million mistakes, but one of the key ones is owners probably not enforcing their systems because they're worried that one of their team members will leave. That's often the issue. So the solution, so you either make a choice. You make it a choice. Well, I just won't enforce the system then. But then you're chained to the business. So at some stage you've got to make a decision here. And the way and how it helps you is if you reduce the pain when someone leaves. So you're always recruiting. I hope you're getting this. You're always recruiting, even if you haven't got a position. You're always recruiting. You're always nurturing people. You've got people on the fly. You're expecting people to leave because they will leave. And the worst time to hire is when you need someone. The absolute worst time. You should always be hiring. And you'll love this one. I had a practice in a very, very swanky looking. It was a beautiful practice in a beautiful fitness center, indoor pool. It was fantastic. So I would, if I'd get a lead on a therapist who was looking for work, I'd say, well, just go. I'd say, before you come in for an interview, I'll get you to go into this practice, have a look around, just see what you think. And if you like it, get back in contact with me. This is my lead generation strategy. So they'd go and have a look at it. And of course, their eyes would fall out of their head. Fantastic. They'd contact me, Paul, can I have a meeting? I love it. Great. Now, the couple of things that I was doing there, I was making the interview more about services, the environment, and less about money. So I wasn't going to have the same money conversations that some other owners might be having because I'd planted the seed of this. The other thing it let me do, it let all the other therapists in my practices know that there were always people coming through. They'd turn up at the front counter, and I'd say to them, when you drop into the clinic, drop in and say hi to the therapist, tell them you might be coming on board and just say hi. I wanted all of the current therapists to know there was other people looking around. So if they wanted to leave, too bad. And I also then, as a result, had to make sure that I had very good onboarding systems. I wanted to make it seamless so that if someone left, it wasn't a pain in the ass. That's how you get on top of your recruitment. Onboarding, so you're not chained to someone and you don't become too reliant on anybody because everyone leaves at some stage. Just accept it. One of my mentors said, Paul, most businesses are running a train journey for their team. Their team get on at a certain stop and they get off at a certain stop. That's the nature of the business. You're always going to be hiring, just accept it, but just get good at it. And now the other thing you've got to be careful of, in the good old days, old guys like to talk about the good old days, there used to be one way to get 10 applicants. I'd put an ad in the paper and I'd get 10 applicants. This was going back a few years. It's the opposite now. It's now 10 ways to get one applicant. So you've got to be doing lots of different things. Do lots of oars in the water. We did a presentation once on solving the recruitment crisis. I think we came up with 46 different ways to get applicants, and you've got to do all 46 of them.
Right. Wow. Man, that's just, there's so much gold in there with regards to that. I know it's a huge struggle for a lot of people, but guys, you can't let people hold you hostage. And you have to have solid onboarding, solid systems so that you don't feel hostage within your own business. So I think that's absolutely amazing. All right, let's talk about my favorite one of all of them. They've all been amazing, but not packaging your services. Talk to us, my friend.
Well, you're the master, mate. You've made a living out of this, packaging the outcomes, the value-based offers. Like you're not selling physical therapy, chiropractic, osteopathy. You're not selling that. You're selling an outcome. And whether it's the Migraine Gone program, the Run a Marathon Pain-Free program, whatever you call it, you're selling a package of care. We had Better Back program. We had the corrective orthopedic rehab program with exercise. There's all sorts of packages out there. You've got to package the outcome and the solution, because then, as we go to our previous point, you've got to make the package the star, not the therapist. So if you're halfway through the Better Back program and the therapist leaves, no drama. Mary takes over. You're at week 3 of Better Back. It just protects you. And you then, the other thing, as you talk about a lot, Greg, in your work, you can't compare. I've got the Get Active Physiotherapy Better Back program. Brian up the road hasn't got that, and no one else has got it. So I'm the only person that has the Get Active Physiotherapy Better Back program. So I can charge whatever I want for it. You can't compare me to someone else because they haven't got it. Practiceology. What in goodness' name is practiceology? It's the program. It's the package, Greg. It's what I created. You haven't got it, so you can't sell it. I can sell it. Yeah, Greg's got a great program, but he hasn't got practice.
Right. No, you guys, I think that's the big thing. You guys have to be able to brand yourself and brand your offer, and so many people are just focusing on branding themselves and them being this rock star, and then the rock star leaves, and again, you're held hostage. Brand your offer, brand your result. That's the key, and it should be independent of any one particular person. That is, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
You've made your career out of it. It's just the model you've got to go down. People don't want you. I think you've done it. We banned our clients using the word physical therapy, chiropractic, because the patients don't care what it is. They just want the result. They just want to be able to walk pain-free. They want their migraine gone. They want to be able to sleep through the night without pain. That's what they want. They don't care if it's physio. They don't care if it's a cleaner walking past putting some amino acids. They don't care. They just want the outcome. We get caught up in it because we did the university and we're good at it, and it's our stuff. It's not theirs.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So those were the 7. But can I tell you something? Paul and I had a discussion. This was a week ago. And Paul, I have to, where I want to go with this is about the not putting a monetary value on your family time. I emailed you, right? I emailed you a couple of days ago and told you what we're going to be doing as a family. And what you shared with me last week was so pivotal that we actually talked about it with our entire family. So I'm so glad that podcast didn't work. Yeah, it was amazing. And so I would love for you to share with the audience one of your bonus mistakes, and that is putting a monetary value on your family time and the difference between quality time and quantity time. Yeah, just talk about it, please.
All right. Big mistake. And we've all done it. I did it early days, and I think I woke up luckily. I was very fortunate, Greg. I married a beautiful wife who's she's the yin to my yang, so she helped me with a lot of this early. But the bottom line of it, practice owners out there, you've got a list of patients booked in for Wednesday afternoon. And whatever it is, 100, just to make it $100, and there's 10 of them, so there's $1,000. The mistake owners make is they look at that Wednesday afternoon, and all of a sudden their family or their daughter or someone says, "Dad, I've got or Mum, I've got my dance recital. Let's come up." Wednesday afternoon, and the owner looks at that and thinks, $1,000. I can cancel the patients, but that's $1,000. You can see the mistake. They're putting a monetary value on their family time. They're saying, I could see the patients and make $1,000, or I could go to my daughter's carnival concert, whatever. It's the biggest piece of rubbish, Greg. You got to get that out of your head. You can't put a monetary value on your family time. I've got 4 daughters. The youngest one is now, she's 26. So they're grown up. There's no more sports carnivals. There's no more dance recitals. I would have missed all that if I was caught up in this rubbish. But luckily I wasn't. So I went to everything, Greg. I ran the business purposely so that I could go to everything. And I don't know if I told you the last call. The day that my daughter's primary school principal called me over and said, "Paul, just mind me asking, are you a drug dealer?" What are you? You're here. You're at everything. What are you doing? I said, "Well, that's how I structure my business." And we laughed about it, but that's the idea. So the idea for you guys, you don't trade that money for your family time. Family time is where it's at. That's the stuff you remember. The other thing that I think you've got to take about is you've got to think about too, Greg, what are you going to remember? This is another little takeaway for you. What are you going to remember? Every year for the last however long, I've got together with 6-10 of my mates, and we go and do things. We go quad bike racing, whatever we do crazy stuff. And one time, one of my best mates says, "Oh, mate, I can't do it." He's a sports physician. He said, "I can't do it. I've got this patient list lined up." I said, "Mate, you've got to be joking. Ring them up, cancel them. You're coming to this event. If I have to come and get you myself, I'm coming to get you." Now, when we get together now, years and years later, it's the same question, mate. What are you going to remember? Would you have remembered the patients you saw and the money you made? Or do you remember seeing my cousin Wayne disappear over the handlebars of the quad bike into the creek? What are you going to remember?
Right.
Now, but these things happen. So the point is just get your head around the fact that you can't trade family time for money. It's just a ridiculous analysis. And leading into that, because the more time you spend at home, which is what I shared with you last week, There's no such thing as quality time with your family. It doesn't exist. You can't create it. You can't do it. Quality time is actually rubbish. What you need is quantity time. You need to be around because, as I said to you last week, the best things happen just off the cuff. My story I shared. I'm on the deck of my house once. My then 16-year-old second youngest daughter comes home from school, stands at the doorway, and she just looks a bit. I said, "You okay, darling?" Dissolves into tears. Just dissolves. And she's not a crier. That's not her go. But so she comes, I give her a cuddle. We're there for 5 or 10 minutes. She just sobs a bit and doesn't say anything. She then says, "Thanks, Dad. I'm okay now." And she took off. Now, I couldn't have scheduled that. That's my point. That couldn't have, darling, I'll be home at 3 o'clock. Breakdown then, I'll be there. Doesn't work. So great things happen, mate, because you're around. And the idea so my business model was to give me lots of time, so it had lots of these quantity time with the family, because things just happen because you're there. You can always make more money. These things don't always happen. Be there when they do.
So I got it.
That's my takeaway.
I have to tell you this. We brought this up because it was on Thursday. I was home in the bedroom, and my son, my youngest one, just wanted to have this long conversation with me and Mom. And then right after he left, just about 30 minutes, and it was just like, this wasn't planned. This wasn't a quality time moment. He just wanted to share. And about 30 minutes after that, my oldest son, my 18-year-old, came in and had like the longest discussion. And I said to my wife, I was like, this is what Paul is talking about. It's just quantity time. We never planned this, but it was just one of those amazing moments that, and guys, I really think that's a huge thing. Like, get as much time as you can, because you don't know when those moments are going to happen. Yeah. So put yourself in that situation.
And when they get older, like my 4 daughters, Helen and I, we'll take any possible opportunity to spend some time with them. So now I'd say, "Oh, Dad, you need to drive. You need to drive to the airport. You need something." Because I get the time to spend, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. So you try, but then you would have missed all those opportunities. And I like to think this: the relationship I got with my kids and with Helen is largely to do with that. And I hope it is, but I wouldn't switch it for the world. We could have made more money. So what? Doesn't make any difference.
I love it. And then you also talked about failing to put a monetary value on your work time, right?
Yeah. Well, I did this for years. Going through what you do each week, like simply look through what you do every week, and should you be doing it? My best example: are you doing $20 an hour work or $10 an hour work? My classic: I washed the towels, Greg, in our practices. Like, we had 6 clinics at this stage, but I'd started washing the towels when we had 1 practice, and it just kept going. So it got to the point where we had 6 clinics, and I at that stage had a 300ZX Nissan sports car. That was my dream car. So I've got this 300ZX sports car, and every week I'd drive around to the 6 clinics, pick up the towels, put the new towels in, take the old towels out, pick up the money, and disappear. That was what I was doing. Now, 6 clinics, a 300ZX sports car, like, it was packed. So I'd come back from Sydney to Newcastle, where I was living. So I'd left Sydney by that stage. I've got the clinics in Sydney, and I've got this car full of towels. And Helen would say, "Well, at least you're safe. Like, if something happens, you've got this airbag around you of towels." So
that's right.
It was a joke, but I'd got to the point where I think, why am I doing this? And one day I was washing towels on Christmas Day. What am I doing? It just made no sense. So look at what you do in your day. Should I be doing this? Get rid of that rubbish, because that's stuff you shouldn't be doing. I've got a sign there, Greg and Mum. What's the most important thing that only I can do right now? What's the most important thing that only I can do right now? And at the moment, Greg, it's talking to you, and that's what I'm doing. But after it's finished, it's going to the beach with Helen. Like, that's what's going on. Hope that helps.
You guys, this was a masterclass on how to run a business. Initially I was going to say this is a masterclass on how to run a practice, but no, this is a masterclass on how to run a business. So for those of you that have an online business, for those of you that have a practice, for those of you that are going hybrid, it does not matter where your business is, what type of business you have. I can tell you right now, we went through 9 different points, and this is exactly what you need to do in order to take that next step in your business. What a masterclass. I thank you so much, Paul. Okay, now, can you tell people what you have going on? How can people find out more about you? Where are your resources? Tell them everything.
Mate, head to our main website, mypracticeology.com. So mypracticeology.com. You can get what have we got on there? There's a free practice efficiency diagnostic. You can get a copy of my book, How to Run a 1 Minute Practice. So 1 minute practice, mypracticeology.com is the website. Social media, I'm on LinkedIn. That's my platform of choice. Love to hear from you guys. Reach out, say I was on the Greg Todd podcast. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm not sure when this is going out, Greg, but I'm running a masterclass, How to Run a 1 Minute Practice masterclass. It's coming up in a few weeks' time. Head to pages.mypracticeology.com/1 minute practice. And if you use the code TODD for the Great Todd, save a few bucks on that, but there you go, save a few bucks on it. But it's just a 2-hour class on how we structured the whole 1 minute practice thing. So if you get stuck, reach out on LinkedIn or contact us and I will send you the link. But hope you can join us, mate. It's been a pleasure. Can I just also say, Greg, these principles are how I never push my beliefs on other people. Everyone's got their own decision to make, and people have got mortgages, and that's okay. And you'll say it's okay for Paul to sit back and say don't see patients and other things, but it's just philosophical. That's how I ran my business, and my job is to make a business that did that for me. You've got your own principles, your own philosophies. Respect that. Just make it work for you. Don't get 10 years down the track and hate what you've done. That's not.
Well, from the towel story, I didn't have a Nissan like yours, but there was a time that I did that, and I have to be honest with you, I had to do it over again. I wouldn't have done that. From the times that I did choose to miss events, if I had to do it over again, I would not have done that. Every single thing that you've talked about in today's interview was wisdom. That's what it was. And so, yeah, we do have different philosophies and different theories and stuff like that. But the reality is that you dropped a lot of wisdom, and a lot of it, all those mistakes were probably through your own personal pain. And so, yeah, like we've all done them. So please, guys, everything that Paul said was amazing. And, you can make the decision, either go through that and feel the pain, and then maybe you can have Paul on your podcast so you can talk about that with him, or just follow the things that he already did and don't do them, and take his resources and all the other stuff that he has. So anyways, listen, guys, as Paul said, I'll put all the links to ways that you can reach out to Paul. He's big on LinkedIn, and I'll put his event that's coming up as well. We'll put all that in the show notes. And Paul, I just want to thank you for coming on again to the Secrets for Success. I appreciate you so much.
Absolute pleasure, mate. It's been a great. I love what you're doing, mate. I'm a big fan. Always have been, mate. So hats off to you too. Well done.
I appreciate you. Awesome.